we have some closing remarks from Ari to send us off into the weekend.
Yes, thanks, Tara. Yeah, usually the last remark starts with the well-worn joke that I'm the last one standing between you and the drinks. Of course, in this case, you have to get your own, I'm afraid. So first of all, my first assignment by Tara is to remind you that next week we'll be sending a follow-up survey to just get your feedback on the conference and what you think about it and what can be improved by any chance. I think what I really liked this time, or what impressed me, is the sort of multiplication of the panels around the world. I think the number of probability-based panels that we're seeing is really going up and spreading, and I think that's a very good thing. And as always, you know, this conference, as the previous ones, are really fantastic opportunities to learn from what people are doing. So I certainly learned a great deal, and I think the presentations were really fantastic. And then, of course, this year, you know, during the pandemic, the panels have shown their versatility and how easily they could be timely in producing data of great interest and of great policy relevance. But so I also want to point at some what I consider to be gaps, more or less, in what's happening generally. So in my introductory remarks, I suggested that, you know, we might have had a shift, we might have an inflection point, or whatever you want to call it, where gradually probability-based internet panels might become a default rather than, you know, an addition to whatever traditional way of surveying might be. And that may actually be true in a number of spheres, but I think it's not true at this point within the academic panel community, if you like. I think for academic panels, the first thing that strikes me about most of the internet panels that have been discussed is that they don't actually use the longitudinal nature of the panels very much. You know, it's a panel, obviously, because people are in it and they ask the question more often, but in many cases, it doesn't seem as if the users or the producers, if you like, really use the longitudinal nature. So there is not a lot of use of what people said in the past. There's not a lot of attempt of following over time what's happening to people. Of course, with exceptions. I mean, there, you know, some of the panels certainly do that. The LIST panel in the Netherlands is an example. Our own panel does that. And I think the other, what I feel is a bit of a missed opportunity, sort of in the same realm, is that with the internet panels, we have an almost unlimited capacity to add information. And I think one of the biggest limitations of the traditional panels is always survey time. You know, either whether it's in person or whether it's a telephone interview, there's just a limit to how many hours you can spend with a respondent. And here we can split questions up over time, and we can have shorter questions. And if you add it all up, you can actually collect a lot more data than you could in other ways. And I think it feels to me that that's still a dimension that we're not really taking advantage of as much as we could. And I think that all of this may be, you know, sort of a nice topic for next year to sort of talk more about the various ways in which we use internet panels and what their characteristics are, and whether there will be a convergence of some sort, or whether there's really these are really just different markets where people do different things. And then finally, and this is my most important item really, I want to thank Tanya Gatche and Tara Coley for running most of this conference, for the selection of the papers, or the setting up of the agenda. I want to thank the scientific committee that selected the papers, and I think really did a good job in helping us put together a really great agenda. And then finally, I want to thank Rose Lee and Associates, and in particular Derek Smith, for really a completely smooth operation that we enjoyed the last couple of days. So despite all of that, despite everything that went well, and despite everything that was interesting, I really hope that next year we will see each other in person again in Washington. So have a great rest of the day, or wherever you are and how long the day may be. But see you next year. Thanks.